Okay, and welcome to the second tutorial. In here I'm going to show you how to use some of the basic tools and shapes that you're going to be using quite often when you use this program. Now, as we've discussed already, you've got all your tools up on the left hand side and across the top, and you can see 6 lines that converge at a single point. That's a point of origin, i.e. the center of your drawing. Now what you should notice is you've got some solid lines there. You've got a blue line that depicts the height. You've got a red line, that's the width of an object, and then the green line is the depth of an object. Now, because we're working in 3 dimensions, those are our 3-dimensioning lines. Okay, that'll become important a little bit later on. Now, a couple of tools I want to introduce you today, in this tutorial rather, are the shape drawing tools and some of the orientation and navigation tools. Okay, so as you guess, if I wanted to draw a square or a rectangle, I click on the rectangle tool. So I've just clicked on that tool. I'm going to go to the point of origin. I'm going to click and drag out. Now, of course, with a rectangle, you should have parallel sides. They don't look parallel at the moment. That's because we're working in 3 dimensions, and so we're viewing the shape with some perspective. Okay. If I wanted to orbit around that shape to see it from a different angle, I could go over to my orbit tool, which is just here. I'll be able to click on screen and see that shape from any different angle that I wanted to. Okay, so that's my orbit tool. Now, if I wanted to move the shape rather than orbit around it, I can use the pan tool, and that sits just to the right of the orbit tool. So I can move that shape from left to right or up or down without orbiting around it. That's a quite useful one as well for arranging your work on screen. Just going to click back here. Okay, now obviously that shape is flat at the moment, has width and depth but no height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my push-pull tool. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. Now the click and drag tool with a push and pull means that I've now got a 3-dimensional shape. Click on the orbit tool. I should be able to orbit around that shape so you can see it from any number of different angles. The push-pull tool also works by adding shapes on top of other shapes. So I can either pull or I can push shapes inside one another. Okay, that works with rectangles, also works with circles. And it also works with the freeform tools as long as you create a shape with a closed path. That means a shape that starts and finishes in the same place with no open sections. Okay, so there's just a really quick example. One more thing I'm going to show you on this tutorial before we move on is just this pencil tool or line tool. And what I'm going to do with this object is create a pitched roof, because I suspect that some of you in your designs will want a pitched roof. So I've got my pen tool here. I'm going to click on the midpoint of one of my flat sections and draw a line. Now what you'll notice at this point, hopefully on screen, is the line is green, and that's because it's parallel to the depth line. If I was to move up, you should see that it's now blue, which means it's parallel to the height, or this way, which means it's parallel to the width. Okay, if I go to any other direction, you'll notice it's no longer parallel to either of those, and it's probably going to be drawing off at some kind of strange angle. Okay, so in this case I want to be parallel to the depth line, so I'm going to move backwards. And then with the move tool, I should be able to move that line up to create myself a pitched roof. Okay, so that's our second tutorial. Have a little go and play with some of those basic shapes, and you should be able to create a building in no time at all.